All right. So, as right here. Okay, so I made it to my house around 3 p.m. and Chuck was going to pick me up about 4 p.m. and he wanted to take me somewhere where I wouldn't see a lot of people because, you know, I'm chatty Cathy and I might just like talk the whole time with someone. So he wanted to go somewhere really quiet and we could eat and visit and take our time. So we went to the Ridge and it was empty, almost, except for one of his favorite patients. That's right, one of his sweetest patients. He's not in here, by the way. He was eating a slice of pie, and he came over to Chuck. Hello, Doc. Can I pull up a chair? And we said, yes, of course. And then pretty much about at that time, Chuck gets a call from a patient, and he goes over there. And so I have a dinner with my non-sponsored patient, which is pretty par for the course when it comes to Chucky, and then that's just, and that always just makes me laugh when I think about that. But honestly, you know, with that week being so stressful and the days leading up to the Emmaus, that's what God knew I needed. I needed a lighthearted conversation with a random, you know, but he was really sweet. So, and it was time for the drop-off, and I was super excited because I saw tons of people that I knew. And even I found out that the spiritual director was my sister's mother-in-law. I was like, oh, okay, I know you. Now, I cannot reveal any secrets from my walk because what happens at Mount Wesley stays at Mount Wesley. Yeah. However, I can tell you every single happening at my walk was a part of the puzzle that God was putting together, unbeknownst to me. And I will not reveal my roommate's age because that's rude, but she is me in 30 years, I guarantee it. And I am absolutely dumbfounded when I think that a walk that meant so much to me, it had to be that year at Mount Wesley in that room and with her as my roommate. You know, she's lived 30 plus more years than me, and she was in a completely different stage in her life. And God wanted her walk to be that year at Mount Wesley in that room with me as her roommate. So think of all the paths that we had to cross and the people in the past and the events to unfold just for the two of us to be roommates. She was the first one that made me realize that age is nothing. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It does not define us. What God made crystal clear for me is that what defines us is that we're all God's children. No matter what the age, the gender, the race, we are all God's children and we all have the same basic needs. We all need God's grace and we need His love. So, my table mate, my sweet Ollie. Go to the next one. There. Okay. So, my table mate, Ollie, and I still, you know, shake my head when I think about sitting next to you all weekend. And how much I got to know you and what I learned from you, all of our laughter and silliness. And here's the crazy fact. So the earlier years of her life came in the way of a movie by Disney, The Rookie, which happens to be one of my family's favorite movies. So what's interesting is that I knew the Disney version of Ollie's earlier years. But while I was watching that movie and learning about that, she was on her own path. And, you know, God had her doing, you know, this stuff, you know. And so when we met, I really felt like we knew her. And so, but because we were table mates and the amazingness of the Emmaus walk, that is when I truly got to know her. And I keep thinking about how our paths had to cross, all the events that had to unfold, the people that we had to meet, so that your walk could be that year at Mount Wesley in that room and sitting right next to me. And that just boggles my mind. So let's see. Oh, because we're both God's children and we both need God's grace and His love. And that's why He put us together. So, let's see. Okay, when you wake up the day after your Emmaus weekend, it's an important day. And it's your first day where you go back to reality and you're still trying to like cling on to that spiritual high. So that would have been the October the 31st, Halloween 2016. Well, a year from that, October 31st, 2017, exactly 1 year from that day, my body surprised me with shingles. The symptoms began exactly on that day. And you know, why is that so mysterious? Well, anyone that gets shingles at the age of 40, that they're weird. And I was thinking like, you know, Jeff Foxworthy, he's like, here's your sign. You know, my relationship with Jesus, my intense prayer times, my reading his words, my day after day, prepared me for what was to become the lowest point in my life. And if I didn't have that relationship with Jesus, who knows where I would be today. I can't even go there. Even with Jesus, I was face first in tears in my closet, yelling out his name and pleading for help, and I've never been sadder. I'm an educator. I've taught for 19 years. You can go to the next one. I just picked out a few. So I was a brick and mortar teacher for 12 years, and then I taught 7 years for an online private academy, and I loved it. I gave all of my TRS, teacher retirement, that I had accrued to my financial advisor, and he rolled it into something, I don't know. But that just meant that I could never go back, because if I did, I'd have to start all over, and who's going to do that? And I always said, you know, my online job, if this job doesn't work out, I'm just going to go work at Starbucks. But I really should have said Tea to Go, because I'm there every day, and I love Tea to Go. I actually did apply, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, well, so you know, with technology, it's always changing. So online teaching always changes. The platform changes, the software changes, the books change, updates, new procedures, more work, less time, more students. 2017 was the year God decided would be my last year with my school and with my families. I didn't know that, of course, I was going, I didn't know that, of course. And I was going to do everything I could to keep my job and be with my families. So it was me holding on to that, and God, you know, doing everything he can to show me that there's something else for me. So, you know, it made me think, well, what about my job as a mom and as a wife? I was letting commitments go. I was forgetting appointments, letting people down. I was so unhealthy. I would realize that it'd be like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I hadn't eaten all day, gone to the restroom. I had like 200 steps on my watch. And my husband would ask time and again, honey, does everyone do this? Do they know how much time you spend doing this job? And my answer was always the same, yes, we are all doing this. Yes, they know. And if I complain, I will lose my job. So even with all the time that I devoted to my job and my families, I still was not finishing all of my tasks by Friday afternoon. Letting people down, forgetting everything, my struggling health, it all started to come to a front. My mom told me she would not visit me anymore until I quit my job. She called it work abuse. My dad complained on his visit that he never got to see me. If you saw me in 2017, I was probably holding a laptop. It went everywhere with me. I conducted meetings and classes everywhere in Kerrville. And also, those that know me, my children are homeschooled. And I was letting them down too. Ellis said, Mom, I feel so bad for you. You're on the computer when I wake up, and you're on the computer when I go to sleep. And then Ava Lee came and sat by me one time and said, Mom, I'm going to sit right here, because if I don't, I'm not going to see you all day. Ava Lee had begun reading the Harry Potter series last year. After book 1, we took her picture. Oh, here's the picture. Go one more. That was me last year. Okay, yes. So she was reading the Harry Potter series, and after she read book 1, we took her picture, we sent it to the family, and we were super proud of her. Book 2, finished it, took her picture. Don't go to the next one yet. Okay. Now, she had finished book 3. Sure, Haley, yes. But we'll just take it in a minute. And then it was, go ahead and just start book 4, and we'll take your picture for book 3 later. Next one. Well, I forgot all about it until I saw a picture on my phone of Ava in the bathroom holding up her book 3. And I didn't know about that. And it was that selfie that broke my heart. So here I was in a very deep, close relationship with Jesus, but very distant and shallow with everyone else. And it took me getting shingles 1 year exactly to the day for my Emmaus walk to be the final straw, to be my Jeff Foxworthy, here's your son from God, for me to go into a very deep pit that I will never forget. With shingles and all, I turned in my resignation the Monday before Thanksgiving. My last day would be December the 15th. I had 3 weeks to tell my families, and these families were my families. And we connected from my living room to theirs. I knew about their last tooth they lost. I knew what color karate belt they were on. They knew all about my family too. They would ask how my girls were doing, what show they were in, what song they were singing. We would pray together. God gave me these students and these families in 6 different continents, which is fascinating to me. And saying goodbye to them was the most heartbreaking task I have ever had to do. And I wasn't going to let them find out from the resignation letter. I had to do it on camera, looking at their precious faces repeatedly for 3 weeks. And I cried so much. I could still see their faces, and faces that hid under the desk so that they wouldn't let me see them cry. I've always had a job, and I've never left a job without having another one. But it didn't matter this time, because this decision was not made by me, it was made by the big man himself. And it took me falling into that pit to see that he had so much more planned for me. I don't know if, no, don't, that's okay, I'll come back to it. So you can go to the next one. So I was given this book after the Emmaus walk. I highly recommend it. And that's an example of a prayer wheel. And this one was mine, I just made it. I know y'all can't see it, but it's the same thing up there. It's 12 steps, and it's 5 minutes each, so that's 1 hour. And I remember when my friend told me, I was like 5 minutes is a stretch for me. Like, how am I going to do this an hour thing? But it was an hour with God, an hour with Jesus almost every day, where my life changed. So when I talk about praise or waiting for God's presence, or when I'm listening, or when I'm reflecting, when I use those words, it's coming from this book and this wheel. So just wanted y'all to know that part. So if I go to my notes, you can go to the next one, thank you. If I go to my notes and I go to August the 2nd, 2017, for instance, I read for that day, I read Psalm 103:15. Our days on earth are like grass, like wildflowers, we bloom and die. I continued my prayer time. I used the prayer wheel from the book, and let's see. Oh, and I always end with praise, so music. And I go to my Amazon app, worship station, and I just click it, and it's just whatever song pops up. Well, the song that popped up was by Casting Crowns, Who Am I? And these are the things that I would not remember or wouldn't believe if I didn't write them down, because I write them down in order as they happen. And so I wrote down in my journal, flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. So God affirmed for me that we are only dust, and we are like wildflowers. We bloom and we die. We're a flower that quickly fades, We're here today and gone tomorrow. So some of the